Today, I'm chatting with Evan Barnett, the owner of Evolution Hair and Makeup based in Frankfort, Kentucky. Evan is not only my go-to artist for wedding hair and makeup, but she also brings her magic to special occasions, boudoir shoots, branding shoots, and more. Her work is elegant, effortless, and completely tailored to each client she serves. Are you wondering when you should get your hair cut before the wedding, or how extensions work to make your hair longer and fuller for the wedding day? She's going to share all of these things and more with us today. You're listening to The Wedding Whisperer with Sarah Burton of Simply Love Studio in Lexington, Kentucky. Today is take 2 for Evan from Evanlution Salon. Evan, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You were actually one of my first guests whenever I originally started the podcast, and I was still figuring out how to do all of my technology and to figure all of the things out. We recorded it that day in your salon, and while there was no one else in there, there was a lot of echoing. I learned a lot that day, and that's why I wanted to record this again and actually have a picture of you as well, because your hair and makeup is always absolutely fabulous. So thank you for agreeing to do this with me again.
Yes, I'm excited.
So for those listening that have not listened to round one, this one is all that they'll need to listen to. Let's talk a little bit about who you are and how long you have been doing hair. I feel like when people are cosmetologists, it's something that they wanted to do their whole life. Is that the same for you?
Kind of. I did grow up. I'm second generation hairdresser. So my mom's a hairdresser, but I didn't like really dream about it. I just kind of, once I got out of high school, I didn't know really what to do, and things kind of pivoted. And I was like, let's just try it. There was a local school in Frankfurt, and I went there, and I fell in love as soon as I got in there.
This is going to probably be a stupid question. In hair school, do you learn how to do makeup as well, or is that something that you kind of self-teach?
And that's not a stupid question at all. No, I was self taught, but I think in the schools now they have aesthetics, and I think they also can offer makeup. But back in 2005, they didn't offer they didn't even have aesthetics programs. Yeah, it's all been kind of self taught.
I feel like a lot of hair and makeup artists for weddings only do weddings and events. You actually work behind the chair during the week. You have a salon in Frankfurt. Tell me a little bit about your salon and what you enjoy about working behind the chair.
I have a full service salon. I've kind of stepped away from everything. I mean, I will still do perms here and there, and I mainly do color. I still do cuts, but I have stepped away from doing kids and men just because it's just gotten. I just wanted to niche down and really hone in on the things that I really want to pour into and that brings me joy. And with the weddings, I just didn't want to, like, I just felt like I was just spread too thin. So I was like, maybe I can just take those things away that I don't really prefer to do. And then I can just focus on the color and stuff. That's been really good. And everybody's been really sweet and understanding.
One of the benefits to working with you versus someone that only does weddings and events is that you do work behind the chair. So you can work with them leading up to the wedding date as far as getting their color and the timing on that cuts. I know most brides want to grow their hair, not always, but most of them want to grow their hair as long as they can. You can work with them on a schedule for that. I feel like even scheduling it for after the wedding, because I feel like once everybody gets back from their honeymoon, they chop their hair off almost immediately. Talk to me a little bit about if a bride is trying to prepare.
It depends, of course, on what the style or what look they're going for. But if they're wanting to go lighter, then we could start. I mean, ideally a year out would be great, but they could just, even if they just have 6 months, that would be good. Or if they're just wanting like a gloss, something for shine, 3 to 6 months. And then usually 2 weeks before the wedding is when you want to do like your final service. That way it gives it a week to settle in, or if there's something that we wanted to like really tweak. It's been nice too, because if some brides, they don't have a regular hair stylist, then I will cut their hair at their trial or trim it. Typically we don't want to do a big cut, but like a little trim just to get those dry edges off is always nice.
How long have you been doing wedding hair and makeup now? How long has it been kind of since you transitioned to your business?
It's been 9 years, and I've been doing hair for 19. But back in 2016 is when I got introduced with somebody, and that's when I started with the agency. I did the agency for 5 years, and then I just went out on my own 4 years ago. So Yeah, it's been really fun. I've learned a lot.
A lot of times I will have brides tell me that, they don't want a lot of makeup on their wedding day, or they want to do their own makeup, or they want to have a natural look, and they're always concerned about going with an artist. Of course, just like everything else in the world, I have thoughts and comments about that. The biggest thing is when you are hiring a professional, you know essentially the tips and tricks on what to do for the bride's face that she won't know on her own. I know there are certain things that you're supposed to use to take away the shine. What are a couple of the things that reasons why a bride should have it done professionally on the wedding day?
As artists, we know we work with photographers a lot and we know what will look good in certain lighting and 4K shooting. So, like with the contour and having those dimensions in your face really does help with that look. And then I always try to suggest lashes, even though they're like, I never wear never wear lashes. I barely wear mascara. And I'm like, I promise you, it'll just open your eyes up a little bit more. Even just putting a little bit of color in their brows, it just makes such a difference. And then with the flashback, we just have to make sure we don't use certain powders that will cause that white cast. Sometimes when you're not doing it as a career in the day to day, then you don't know which products work with what.
One of your friends, Jody, she has done my hair and makeup for headshots before, and
Yes.
I became obsessed with fake lashes. And she's like, "Girl, they're so easy to put on." So I go and buy the lashes, the glue, every exact same thing that she has, the little things that you put them on there with. And like I've met with her twice to try and learn to put them on. I still can't do it. She was like, "You
It's
do
hard.
this," and like I will literally have the lash on my eyebrow. It should be so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
even
not.
like watching TikToks on people doing it, her literally standing there telling me how to do it, I can't do it. So it's literally it's you're working your magic. It's
Yeah.
your art that it's literally art because I certainly can't do it. As a couple is going into the wedding day,
Hmm.
and we've talked about when they come for their trial and to clip some of the ends and stuff. Do you always recommend doing a trial? What is the point of the trial? Can you do a wedding day without having to do a trial beforehand?
Yes, I love trials because then we get to really meet each other. I get to see like what the hair will do, what kind of makeup. Sometimes we even switch up the look a little bit, just depending on how it does at the trial and how they feel about it. Typically, it would be great if they could come in a year before, but a lot of times it's just really hard to plan that far ahead now. Even if they just come in 3 to 6 months before their wedding day, that way they can figure out their game plan for what we're gonna do.
I think too, whenever brides do a trial, I don't want to say they're overwhelmed with what they look like, but it's a lot, especially if you don't wear
Yes.
makeup every day. A lot of times I feel like I have brides that freak out a little bit. They'll text me and they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And I'm like, just wear it a little bit. Don't freak out. They know what they're doing. Yes, this is going to be a little bit more than you normally wear. Do you ever get those conversations? Do brides ever want to do a second trial? Is that normal if they want to do that?
It's been more popular, it seems like, and I think it is. It's just they're just so unsure, and then they might even just change their mind about their look and stuff. So yeah, we've definitely done second trials for hair and makeup, or just hair. And then I've had brides the day of change their hair just because of the weather. They're like, I don't think my hair is going to do what it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do. Let's just throw a braid in there with some curls, and it ends up working out amazing. So.
I get that mine will start to curl when it rains. The
Mhm.
one bit of rain on it and it just starts to curl. So I can see absolutely changing it up. I had never even thought about that before. We talked a little bit about like cut and styling before the wedding day. Let's talk a little bit about extensions. That's another time that I feel like if a female is ever going to get extensions, it is before the wedding. Walk me through the different types of extensions and maybe what you would recommend for a bride.
There's different types. A lot of the times we use the clip ins, but there's clip ins, there's tape ins, there's K tips, which I don't really do a whole lot of, and then there's the sewn in method. The clip ins are the most versatile, and you can like a lot of them, if they're not going to ever do it again, I'm like, let's just get them for the day, and it's going to make the look so much better. The tape ins I kind of steer away from a lot just because of the just taking them in and out. But it is always an option. And then the sewn in method is my favorite. I do really love those, and they can wear them for longer. So they could wear them in their honeymoon, and for as long as they want.
And speaking of
So,
wearing them as long as you want, I actually have extensions in now from Evan. I have had these for probably about a year. I don't actually wear them for length. I wear them for volume. I would say my natural hair may actually be longer than they are.
hmm
I love them. Like I've tried to go without them a couple times and I text Evan, I'm like, I can't do it. Although it
yeah.
is much easier to wash and blow dry my hair without extensions in, I'm obsessed with them. And if you have ever thought about extensions or ever wondered what it's like, I would absolutely recommend talking to Evan about that. She has affordable recommendations for hair. I
hmm
see on TikTok where people spend $2,000 and $3,000. That was why I never went for a consult, because I
hmm
can't spend that on hair. And so she has a great brand. They've held up great for me. I've probably had them a little over a year now. They've been, heat on them, sprays on them, all the things. So
Yeah.
if you have thought about extensions, even if you're not getting married, you're a vendor or a friend or a mom listening to this, I would absolutely talk to Evan about that. I go probably about every 4 weeks or so to have them pulled up. I would say most people can probably go a little bit longer than that. I'm just extra weird, and my hair is very fine, so it kind of they slide down a little bit. But and I do have the sewn in ones. That's the reason I go. I'm sure tape ins maybe the same amount of time, but I would
Yeah.
absolutely recommend if you've ever considered hair extensions, do them for your wedding. I would also
hmm
recommend if you are considering them, I would probably start them 2 to 3 months before,
Oh yeah.
because you want the placement in it and how you want it, because it took us a couple of times. I'm like, oh, it's a little bit too long on this side, or for me to really feel comfortable wearing them, and like wearing them in a ponytail, we had to cut them a little bit. And the other thing is, the first day or two that you have them in, you can definitely feel the weight of them in your hair. I get a lot of
Yes.
migraines. I was concerned about that. Fortunately, they have not made them any worse, which is great. But I would not put sewn in extensions in for the first time the week of your wedding, because you're going to feel it in your hair. It's going to be not exactly where you need it to be, like where it falls. I don't know proper terms, but
That's
I'd
good.
absolutely recommend Evan for hair extensions. I'm honestly obsessed with them. So I just wanted to
Thank
throw
you.
that in there. Okay, going back to makeup, I got sidetracked by how much I love my extensions. With makeup, skincare. How
Mhm.
much does skincare play into your makeup on your wedding day?
Oh yes, it's a huge part of the wedding day look. I'd say you could start with an esthetician if you're able to, and if not, just doing the basics like using a moisturizer for sure, taking your makeup off at night, and just trying to exfoliate at least once a week. I also recommend dermaplaning. They don't have to, but I think it looks really good with the makeup application. And then staying hydrated. I always try to say, if that's the only thing you can do, is just drink your water, and it'll repay you back for sure.
Talking about dermaplaning, I'm obsessed with dermaplaning. And we actually did an episode with Trish Allen from Image Insight, probably season 1, and we talk a lot about dermaplaning and how to prep your face for the wedding. If I could get my face dermaplaned every week, I probably would. That's probably not healthy, but I'm obsessed with it. And
Yeah.
your makeup is just, it goes on so much better. It stays
hmm
on more. With the makeup, I hear a lot of brides, they'll be like, I want airbrush. Talk to me about the difference in airbrush versus traditional. Is there a big difference?
A lot of artists will say they can make it look airbrushed, and they can with different brushes and techniques. But the airbrush formula does really well with different climates, and you're not touching the skin, like it's just kind of going over it, so that it keeps if somebody's like super sensitive or turns red, it just keeps the irritation down. Going back to the climates, I've seen it perform very well in like Kentucky humidity, August 31st, sweat dripping down somebody's face. I was like, dang, it really does do good.
I personally love airbrush. I have had it done a couple of times now, and the first time I had it done was for headshot photos. And we done it at probably 8 o'clock that morning, and I had to scrub it off that night. Again, if I could have my face dermaplaned and airbrushed on the regular basis, I would be a happy person all of the time. I
Mm-hmm.
am a big fan of it. Not every artist offers that, and that's
Right.
okay. There are
Yes,
some
that's fine.
artists that only do, I don't even know, the traditional makeup with like a sponge or a
Yeah.
brush. And some of them are fantastic, and that's all, I don't want to say all they know. That's just the way that they prefer.
Yes.
And that's totally fine. And I think that looks great as well. Do you think one is better than the other? Do you do both of them?
I will do both of them, especially, yeah, if that's like the only way that we can get the look done, then yes, I will definitely do that. I don't think one's better than the other. I think we offer, different services and different methods.
I always hear, I'm switching from hair and makeup today. I
I know
always
it's fun.
hear on the day of the wedding that all of the blogs say to show up with, a couple day old hair, that your hair styles better when it's, a little bit cuspier. It has dry shampoo in it. What is your recommendation? What do you tell your brides to do on the wedding day?
My preference is clean blow dried hair. I used to just say clean dry hair, but then they were coming with it air dried. And then sometimes it was still damp because you think it's dry, but it's not really dry. And then we just don't have the time for it. And then it just, I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, but if you let it air dry, it can tend to look a little greasier at times.
Hmm.
So I just feel like with blow dried, it just does better. Some brides will go and get a blowout the day before, and that's always nice. They don't have to. And then if somebody has natural curly hair, they'll prep it the way they are used to, and they can do day like the day before and do it, or the day, that morning. If some, I've had some brides that are like, I've got to get my cardio in, and so then they'll wash it after their cardio session. So but I
Good
do
for them.
prefer, yeah, just because like I've seen too many times that that's been 7 day hair and I can't make an
No.
oily head of hair look good.
On the wedding day, what is your preferred environment to work in to have the desired outcome? Like what kind of lighting, what like kind of seating, what is an ideal situation for a makeup and hair artist on the day of?
That is a great question. I know it's not ideal everywhere, but yeah, the great lighting. I mean, this lighting in here is really beautiful at Harper Hall, but outlets for sure. That has the three
Oh, yeah.
prong. Now we've had been in some venues that only have the two prong, which we have an adapter. We don't necessarily have to have a mirror. A mirror is not, but that's always nice to have for the girls just to kind of go take a peek. And then the space. Like if you're going to have 7 to 8 bridesmaids, we do need a good sized room. So sometimes we've been in there with 3 artists and we're shoulder to shoulder and we can work in that environment, but it's not ideal. Definitely enough space, enough chairs. We do try to bring some tables, but it is nice to have a few tables too.
You talk about having several bridesmaids in there at a time. There's a lady I follow on TikTok. Unfortunately, I don't know her name. She is wonderful. She recreates all these scenarios that happen on wedding day. She's a makeup artist, and
I think I've seen her.
um, I'm sure you have. But it'll be like, the bridesmaids, they have like a schedule of who goes when. And then it's like, I can't go first because I'm in charge of breakfast, or I can't go first because I need to take this phone call, or those kind of things. Do you recommend having a schedule for each bridesmaid, or at what point do you want the bride to actually have, because obviously she's the most important, at what point do you want her to get hair and makeup done?
The schedule is so nice. And then I always say the person with the most hair should go first as far as the bridesmaids or maid of honor. Just because if they have hair all the way down their back, usually like I like to give myself 45 minutes per bridesmaid. Well, they're going to take longer than 45 minutes probably, or I can at least, it can shimmy on down a little bit. So definitely do that. And then the bride, I mean, I typically do her at the end, but I think in a perfect day, you should probably have her up above a few of the bridesmaids in case she wants to go, eat a little something or just chill for a minute. But yeah, she's typically towards the end of the timeline.
And we haven't mentioned it, but a lot of moms also get hair and makeup done on the wedding day. Moms, mother in laws, aunts,
Hmm.
obviously, flower girls. Whenever you have a larger bridal party and additional guests getting hair and makeup done, of course, you do hair and makeup. Some artists are just hair, some are just makeup. If
Yeah.
you book a larger party, do you bring in extra stylists? And then how do you decide like who works on who?
Yes, if we have, I can do usually about 6 to 8 apps by myself, but if we're going to have, 7 to 8 bridesmaids doing hair and makeup, I will bring 1 to 2 artists on depending on what time they need to get done. I typically will do the bride and all the hair because I can move pretty fast through hair. I tend to take a little bit longer with makeup. And then whoever I bring on, say if it's Jody or another person, I will have her do all the makeup or have one person the hair and makeup between the other two. It seems to flow pretty nicely like that. With the mothers of the bride and groom, sometimes I'll even do trials with them. I offer that to the bride because sometimes they're just so nervous. They don't want to
Mhm.
not look like themselves. And then I love meeting the moms. They're so sweet. So that's always nice.
I have noticed that sometimes moms will maybe go to like dry bar or a salon
Hmm.
and get their hair done so that they're not in the middle of everything that morning. Obviously, that's a personal decision, but sometimes they just want that quick style and or, the blow dry look. That's always an option as well.
Yes, that's a good idea.
If someone is working with you on, say, hair, and there's another artist for makeup, how do you all coordinate the schedules for the day of?
The timing for the hair and makeup, like we're working together. I'll start with one hair, they start with one makeup, and then we'll just kind of like go back and forth like a shuffleboard kind of. And then if I'm working with a totally different artist from a different company, I just try to connect with them through text message, and then I always tell the bride like whatever they want to do, I will follow their lead. Like I don't want to impose on them at all.
I think that's one of the things that I have enjoyed about working with you. And I haven't even done a wedding with you, but just like in general, you're just like, okay, whatever works. And you're
Yeah.
not super particular and I don't want to say rule follower because we don't really have that, but like you
Yeah.
just go with the flow. And that's what we need on wedding days. Talking about pricing for wedding hair and makeup, the bride is usually at least double the price, if not a little bit more,
Yeah.
because that includes a trial for a full face and a
Hmm.
full trial on the hair. You also spend more time with her on the wedding day.
Like for brides, I love to have a full hour for hair and a full hour for makeup. In a perfect world, I would love to have about hour to hour and a half, but we just can't do that with the timelines. But I do want to give them my undivided attention for that. And then with the bridesmaids, I usually give everybody 45 minutes for hair and 45 minutes for makeup. But typically we can do hair in 30 minutes. And I mean, Jody, she, I always call her
Yeah.
Speedy Gonzalez. She can do makeup in like 20 minutes. I still plan for 45 because you just never know. I
Yeah.
mean, we've had some bridesmaids, they're like, I don't like my hairstyle. Can you change it? And I always want somebody to feel comfortable enough to tell me they don't like something because, you know, they're paying for a service and I want them to
Yeah.
feel good.
Please, if you do not like your service, please do not go wash it off and put it on TikTok and make a
Yeah,
TikTok about it.
exactly. Yes,
Um,
I do not want to go viral
yeah.
from that type of TikTok.
Yeah. And this is, as a bride and as a bridesmaid and a mom, this is your opportunity. Whenever they say, do you like this? Is there anything you want to change? That is your opportunity to say, actually, that's a little bit lighter. That's a little bit darker. Could we change this? Like, it's not going to hurt their feelings, but they don't know
Mhm.
what you want until you tell them.
Yes. Yes. I would much rather them leave happy than as I leave, they're taking the style down or fix it, changing their whole makeup because I want everybody to feel beautiful that day and
Absolutely.
comfortable.
Evan, is there anything else you want to talk about today or any advice or tips that you want to share with brides that are listening that are getting ready to pick out a hair and makeup artist or what to look for in an artist or just anything you want to share in general that maybe they not might not get to hear otherwise?
Try to do your research to see if these artists are in the wedding industry, if they're familiar with weddings, see their work, if they have a website. Also, the way they communicate. I know a lot of the times I like to get on the phone with the bride just to see if we vibe. You're investing into this artist. It is an expense for you. So you want to enjoy, and we're there for like 8 hours. So if, if y'all are not vibing, then you don't want that. Do the research.
I'll say too, in just closing this, a lot of hair and makeup people are not necessarily big social media people. You can't be on your phone all day. You can't check your email all day. You can't text all day.
Hmm.
Especially where you're behind the chair all, during the week.
Yeah.
Give some grace to your artist. I always recommend checking the artist's tagged photos on Instagram because a lot of them, like I said, they don't post a lot. They are amazing artists. They just don't like social media, but
Yeah.
they have been tagged. And always feel free to reach out to me or any of your
Hmm.
other vendors if you're interested in an artist to see. because like I said, even if they haven't been tagged in a while, it may be set to where they have to approve the tags or something. So don't
Yes,
completely freak out if your artist has not been active on social media in the last 10 minutes. But always
that's
feel free to
true.
reach out to somebody you know in the hair makeup world and just ask about them. Check reviews, Google Wedding Wire, The Knot, anywhere that you can find reviews. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about Evan and working
Thank
with her.
you.
Although I have not personally worked with her on a hair and makeup. On a wedding day, I go to her almost monthly now to get my extensions pulled up. She's always flexible. She's easy to work with. I'm always running 5 minutes late. It never fails. And she's so kind about it, even though I know it's hard to be. But Evan, thank you so much for joining me today. I love having you
Yes.
as a preferred vendor of Simply Love because I know that my brides are always taken care of. And actually, saying my brides are always taken care of, you have actually done weddings with same-sex grooms as well.
Oh, yes, yes. That has been so much fun. I've loved that.
And
So
tell
great.
me
I've
what,
even actually got to do makeup. And it wasn't, they didn't want glam. They just wanted like concealer and just to get the redness out. And I was like, I wish more men would do this because they get forgotten about. It's crazy. I'm like, you look back at pictures and you're like, oh, if they just had a little bit of something right
mhm.
here, it'd make a difference. Hopefully, as the world evolves, like we'll get men more, worried about their skincare and their regimen.
Absolutely. And that's something to where even after you do the bride's hair and makeup, you can run over and touch the guys up the concealer, that big, pimple that they have from the stress of the week. Normalize making them feel comfortable doing that. And the redness, like I have rosacea. Anytime you can put a little something extra on my cheeks to take that away, guys, they're in the pictures too. So we want to make sure that we take care of them. Evan, if they want to find you on social media, how
I am on Facebook with Evanlution Hair and Makeup, and then on Instagram at Evanlution HMUA.
thank you so much, Evan. I appreciate you
Thank
joining me
you.
today.
Yes, thank you.
For more information about Simply Love Studio or to schedule your wedding consultation, go to simplylovestudio.com.